All right, so this is the final example for 7.5. This is probably one of the more difficult ones, so here we go. Notice with the first example that I did in my other video that I just cross-multiplied. The reason why you cannot cross-multiply in a situation like this is because you've got this pesky little plus sign that's adding these two fractions here. Okay, I highly recommend that you don't cross-multiply. In fact, you can't, so don't. All right, so we have to use the second way. So if you watch the other video, you have to do it the hard way, as you guys call it. All right, we need to create like denominators here. We need to find the least common denominator. So we look at this denominator. We've got a factor of x plus 3, so we got to have one of those. X plus 3, we've already got it. Fantastic. And then we need an x minus 4. So our least common denominator is x plus 3 times x minus 4. So we rewrite it, negative 4 over x plus 3 equals x minus 1 over x plus 3 plus x over x minus 4. Okay, now we look at each of our fractions and decide what is missing. From here, we've got the x plus 3, so we need the x minus 4. So we multiply the top and the bottom by an x minus 4. Here we've got the x plus 3, so same thing. We need an x minus 4 and an x minus 4. Alrighty. Here we've got the x minus 4, so what we're missing is the x plus 3 and the x plus 3. Okay, hardest part's done. Now we need to multiply. Alright, so we've got negative 4 times x minus 4 over x minus 4 times x plus 3. Equals, and then I'm just going to leave these two factored for now. X minus 1 times x minus 4 times x, oh no, just kidding. Nope, lies and propaganda. Over x plus 3 times x minus 4 plus x times x plus 3. All right, all I've done basically is just rewritten these so that they look a little bit nicer. All right, I just multiplied across, okay? Now, what we can do to save ourselves some writing is realize that since these all have the same denominator, we can basically ignore them. They don't really matter anymore. So I'm just going to rewrite it. Negative 4 times x minus 4 is equal to x minus 1 times x minus 4 plus x times x plus 3. All right, we don't need the denominators. If you would like to keep the denominators there, please, by all means. Waste of time, okay? Don't do it. However, what we do need to do is restrict our domain. So we need to go to this denominator here, all right? We know that x cannot be negative 3 and x cannot be 4 because those are the things that would make our denominator 0, and you need to find these, and I'll show you why later, okay? So now we're at this step. Now we just need to simplify, and you're like, Miss B, you have to FOIL, and I'm going to be like, yeah, you do. Have fun, okay? Negative 4 times an x is a negative 4x. Negative 4 times a negative 4 is a plus 16. Equals x times x, which is x squared. X times a negative 4, which is a minus 4x. Minus 1 times an x is a minus x. Minus 1 times a minus 4 is a plus 4. Okay, that's the first one. Then we got plus, and then an x times an x, which is an x squared. An x times a 3, which is a plus 3x. Great. Now we combine like terms. Let's keep this side the same. Negative 4x plus 16 equals x squared. You've got a negative 4. Oh, wait. Hold up. Let's look at our x squareds. We've got 1x squared here and another x squared there. So total, we have 2x squareds. Now let's look at our x terms. A negative 4x minus x is a negative 5x, plus a 3x, that's just a negative 2x. Then we've got a plus 4, and that doesn't have any friends, so we're just going to leave it as a plus 4. All right? Now we need to solve, and if you've noticed by now, which I hope that you have, we've got a quadratic. And so in order to solve a quadratic, you've got two options. You can either factor or you can use a quadratic formula. But in order for us to use either of those, we need to get everything to the other side. So let's add the 4x. Let's subtract the 16 from that side. Okay, so we're left with 0. We're still left with the 2x squared. We're going to add 4x. So negative 2x plus 4x is a positive 2x. The 4 minus the 16 is a negative 12. Everything's on one side now. Let's factor. You could go through and try to factor this, or you could realize that it has a greatest common factor of 2. So let's take out a 2 here. You're left with x squared plus x minus 6. Okay? This is a lot more pretty to factor. When it factors, you're left with 2 times, well, let's see, you've got a negative 6 and a positive 1. So we know we've got to have x and x. Okay, 2 numbers that multiply to 6 but add to 1. Well, that's 3 and 1 because 6 and 1 don't do it. Or sorry, 3 and 2. 3 and 2. All right. This is a negative, so we know we've got to have a positive and a negative somewhere. But we've got a plus x here. So our bigger number's got to be positive. Smaller number's got to be negative. Okay, we're almost done. Now we got to set each of those equal to 0. So if we set 2 equal to 0, well, that doesn't matter. That never happens. Fantastic. We set x plus 3 equal to 0, subtract 3, so x equals negative 3. Okay, there's 1. And then we set x minus 2 equal to 0, so x equals 2. All right, but you can't just box these in and say, Miss B, yay, I did it. Okay, here's why. All right, you have to go back and you have to look at your restrictions because you've already told me that x can't be negative 3 or 4. And those are stronger than the answers that you actually found. So the fact here that you found a solution that is also a restriction, that's what we call that fancy word extraneous, okay? So that's actually not a solution. You can't count that. We said it couldn't be that. That's a contradiction. That can't happen. Following me? The only answer that you have here is x equals 2. Peachy? So it's still important that you find your restrictions when you're solving because your restrictions could actually contradict what you actually found in your answer, and I have to see that you can understand that. Okay, it looks like a hot mess. It looks like there's a lot of work here, and there is. But I think that hopefully this video helped. And if you have any other questions, come see me.